So today we're going to talk about the XBRL. This is not in the requirement of the midterm and final exam. We usually have a class exercise based on this, but because the website that we use is actually under the maintenance, so we couldn't use that anymore for this term. So I would like to briefly introduce you guys this important concept. It's called XBRL. It's in short for the Extensible Business Reporting Languages. It's similar to XML, which is the languages based on the internet, or HTML, which is also the web page coding languages. So, but this is for the business scenarios, which is utilizing by the SEC for their 10K and 10Q filing. So this is a very useful part of the AIS, and a lot of researchers actually working on making this XBRL more commonly used than it currently are. So it called the future of financial reporting. So basically, this is what the online platform that we use for the WebDesk now is not available for us, so we don't have that as a assignment anymore. But it's good for you guys to know there is a website help you to get familiar with the process of how to use XBRL, how to create your own XBRL report. Okay, so let's introduce a concept called XML. It stands for Extensible Markup Languages. So it's actually the simple text-based presentations for the structured data or information, or say. So it's designed to describe the data. So you can see it have many ways in presenting it. Like, for instance, topology of this is like original text, and in HTML format is like that, but it's in XML format is also that. So actual things is no differences, but in the presentations, like HTML have some differences with XML, and in the content, it have the tag. So XML have the tags on the front and end of the text, actual text with the tag of like customer, email. Those tags are used for us in the future for the analysis, which is machine readable. We can just extract those information easily with the XML tag. And then we're talking about the examples, right? So the document file looks like the left-hand side is the XML file, right? So it must follow certain restricted rules when you create the XML file. The best example for this is when you go to the coding views on your browser. You're gonna come up with those tagging, and you don't really necessarily know. That's the example HTML. But like XML, there is a good example is like Form 990 database that available on the Amazon Web Service. So those names, right, is the basic, the back end of those website or database, and it presented in a way that people readable. But those tagging make it possible for machine to read the information. So let's talk about the revolutions in financial reporting, right? First of all, we have the information's traditional ways we create, and we based on the relevance and reliabilities of those information we create the financial report, and we are using different applications to make the data become information and support our decision-making process, right? The AIS step in these scenarios, right? And it collect the data, store the data, and using the software provided all this kind of process time on the timely basis. And then we have paper-based financial statement reporting, which is commonly used within any type of business, even government, right? So, but nowadays with all the technologies advanced, the people have dynamic need, right? So in this way, we have to have a transaction. Transactions need to be booked in a different way that support the HTML format, which is HTML-based financial statement reporting, which look basically the same, just not with the papers, right? It's easier to transport. You can just send a link and people can get your financial report instantly. But is that enough for like analytics? Is that enough for the general audience to keep the information accessible? Maybe not. So the new technology under this scenario, right? So because the old way doesn't allow you to be like data exchange, and if you are using the different software, it's probably gonna be different as introduced in the videos, right? So the transmission is using XBRL or XML to present their financial statement, right? So the important part, the transaction part, is you have to create a tag, like taxonomies of the report. People have to know the level, the locations, how you organize this, right? So a lot of for instance, like SEC mandatory every companies to using XBRL tag, because already been created the taxonomies and company feel comfortable to adopt this, right? But like personally, I'm doing the research about government accounting, and government also issue the financial report. Anyone know what is government financial report's name is? Okay, so I guess you guys not really familiar with the government accounting. So government financial report is called Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. It's required by the GASB, which is a government accounting standard board. And this is actually being very challenging because no taxonomy of government financial report existed. So Florida, in a few years ago, passed a bill that require all the municipalities within the states to using XBRL as their financial report as a mandatory. So by the act require to start this by start the XBRL reporting from 2020. So this might be a good sign for the futures, like researchers and also analytics analysts to find insight about government report in the future, right? XBRL also have jurisdictions. It's limited to certain area that they are agree to using this, and they have also members who sign up for this, and you can see from the map like which countries are adopting XBRL. And there are a lot of benefit of using XBRL. Like for instance, there is a cash and cash equivalent numbers in this balance sheet, right? So it stated that in the June 30th, 2009, they have cash and cash equivalent asset at $47,038, right? So there is a lot of meaning behind this basic numbers, right? In the XBRL tagging, you can know, okay, this is in US dollar, the currency, and also the company of this belongs to, right? And the companies, you can get the information about their SIC code and what kind of industry they belongs to, right? And then you can know which section that this number coming from, and what is the date, and what is the format, like whether this report is audited or not, right? So a lot of things are actually behind the XBRL tagging, and it actually provide meaning and context rather than just number, right? So there are a lot of benefits that listed, and we can see from this easy table presentations. So there are a lot of terms in XBRL area. So we will, I think you guys just need to briefly understand this area. I don't want to go into like much detail, but the instance document is an important concept that you guys need to understand. It contains the business report information, right? So the taxonomy is very important too. It's the electronic dictionary of elements using the report tag talks about the specific financial statement line item, right? So the text is the square thing before the real content, and the square thing after the real content, right? So there are standard taxonomy, but also they have extension taxonomy. So these are the two basic part in the taxonomy. So right, standard one is more like general. The extensions taxonomy is more like specific and unique due to the situation of the company, right? So financial statement will have an instant document which is XML file that contain the business reporting information, right? So the content will presented in instant document as a chunk of code with the text. Entities and report specific information required by XBRL allows text data to be understood and in the relation of other information. So you can, a lot of things allow you to double click and you can choose the chunk of the information, which is more directly tell you the code for a certain area. So if you're doing a lot of coding, you might notice that. So the financial facts in the statement are tagged using element. So tagged values are presented like in this way, right? So you can see it have the sign of US dollar, and it's under US GAAP, cash and cash equivalents. All those things are included in the content by using the element, right? Element tag, and you can see this is the basic explanation of that. So we have taxonomies. Is the dictionaries helping with the XBRL applications, and then company will get XBRL instance document, and it will be electronically storage into the corporate website, and also the SEC database. And also we have the investors access the information from online, and they can using the tagging to transfer the information to the ideal information that they needed. So this process is very easy, make information shareable and usable for the user. So you can go to the SEC's website to find the information from their database and see the company filing highlighted on the top under the searching bar. And we can search for the company name or CIK or ticker, stuff like that. So this is their Edgar search result. This is their database. And then next you can see their filing status. You can output it as Excel document. So we're actually using, like market actually using the XBRL data. A lot of like consulting firm or business, financial business firm, or even like accounting firm are using this. So let's see short videos.
Thank you everyone for joining today. What I wanted to show you is the power of XBRL and how easily you can start looking at this data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with querying a couple of companies to show you how the data comes alive. So let's say you wanted to look at Pfizer. So you type in Pfizer, Merck, some of the big pharma companies. You can also create a list of companies that you want to follow, the large pharma companies. So we've got them here. Next is you can start picking and choosing whatever KPIs that you want to analyze. So let's say revenue. Let's type in revenue. And let's say earnings per share. Okay, so you're ready to go. So you now have to refresh the data, and within seconds you can pull up the data in a tabular format for 2016. But you can also traverse and go back to previous periods if you wanted to. Do that for 2016 as well. And again, you can see that the data instantaneously updates. So what XBRL allows us to do now is to start asking interesting questions on the go. And so you can kind of interact with the data basically in real time. So let's say you wanted to look at revenues and earnings per share, looking at the time series data for these companies. It's a matter of just simply clicking a button, and you can see that this gives us the revenues over time, going back as far as we can using the XBRL data. Now, if you wanted to take out anomalies, you can do things like that by saying you want to deselect, for instance, Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer perhaps, and Merck. And you can see that the graph will update in real time. If you start thinking, well, I want to start looking at earnings per share now, it's as easy as simply selecting earnings per share, and the graph will update again in real time. Let's say you wanted to look at the quarterly earnings per share. So now we're looking at the annual earnings per share for these companies. You can simply slide the slider across, and the data will pretty much update in real time. If you wanted to, for instance, zoom in on certain quarters, there's a lot going on here. You can simply select the quarters that you're interested in analyzing, and you can zoom in to the most recent quarters. Again, you can basically interact with the data in the way that you want to, repackage information so you can better see certain trends. Right back. So this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the kinds of analysis that you can do. Looking at time series analysis, going back between annual and quarterly, going across different KPIs, drilling into certain anomalies. What XBRL also allows you to do is to drill into the details. So for instance, let's say you wanted to look at revenues and drill into revenues. I'm going to select 2016. Okay, so for these companies, I've sorted the revenues in terms of from the largest to the smallest, and I can look at the drill down. So you can see that, for instance, Pfizer, there's a drill down option where you can see the breakdown of Pfizer revenues. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click on this little button to show us the drill down. Okay, so the consolidation, drill down by consolidation is not so interesting, but how about we look at Pfizer's revenues drill down by geography? So now we can see the revenue for 2016 for Pfizer broken down by different regions in the world. What is also interesting is that you can simply hover over a certain segment and you can see the trends for that particular segment over time in terms of the revenues generated in that segment. This is, you know that this is the information that's buried in the footnote. So imagine that you have to actually collect this information and put this information into a spreadsheet for multiple years. That could take hours. With XBRL, you can see that I can basically look at certain drill downs, either by geography or segments, product segments, by drugs in this case, in seconds. So here is an example where I selected segments, and you can see that this is Pfizer's revenues by drug. So let's take a look at the first branch. And there's a ton of branches. You can see that Pfizer provides a lot of information about the revenues by drug, but we can, again, very quickly look at the revenues broken down by different major product lines and particular drugs in a few seconds. So here's an example of the legacy established products. You can see the trend declining. You can see the different types of drugs here. See the EpiPen revenues have been going up in the last couple of years. Again, I wanted to underscore that this is detailed information that is buried, in the footnotes, and this is not only can you get the data just for 1 year, but you can get it for multiple years.
Oh, here she gave a really good examples of like how XBRL can get you in-depth information about the company's data with the comparison with the industries and with more flexibility, which is much more user-friendly to incorporate with the data analytic tools, right? So using this example, so we can really get the ideas about what kind of XBRL tools that we can use, right? This will be a very good resources for you guys in the future when you do your job, right? When you actually deal with those data with cross-sectional or time series data, right? I will send this to you guys, and don't worry, using that as your information bank that can serve you guys better in your work in the future. So we have more information about this, and I will send you guys the XBRL exercise, and we also have the step-by-step instruction for those things. So if the online platform is reopened, I will highly suggest you guys to using that as for your own sake as a good exercise. Okay, so anybody can help me answer this question? Yes.
I think so. Standard technology. Sorry, standard extension technology is to create by individual company, and the standard technologies developed for companies. They can develop it for the company by faster and like a different company can get the US GAAP or whatever.
Yes. So standard is the regulatory suitable for every company, right?
Yes.
And the extension is more unique and suitable for the certain companies' specialties with a special need. Can you guys hear me? Do you guys have problem to hear me?